case you haven't inferred this from my first video, I personally care more about the stories inside video games than the story around their creation and community. Like, gee, you're telling me that this game with a cutesy art style that attracts children, while also being a tribute to Newgrounds, a website generally known for only being a little less edgy than 4chan, has a community filled with horrible people? Who would have thought? But that's besides the point. Like I said, I care about game stories, not community stories. However, I do quite enjoy the FNF modding community. Seeing all these creative ideas added to the simple rhythm game, be it in the songs, mechanics, or the straight up revamping of the game, is just really cool. But it all started somewhere, didn't it? Let's look at the mod that made the modding community what it is today. Let's set the scene first. On October 5th, 2020, the first FNF prototype released as a Ludum Dare Game Jam entry and started gaining popularity. That whole process then kept going after the first Newgrounds demo on November 1st of the same year. Here's a neat thing. It was open source, meaning everybody could easily look at the code and, well, modify it. Naturally, this led to a massive and insanely active modding community, though it did take some time to properly expand. Sure, current legends like BB Puns were already around, creating mods like Versus Carol, but those were still rather basic, only being capable of switching sprites and music already in the game for new ones, but none could add completely new weeks or even slightly change the game's foundation. Until February 15th, 2021, the release of the full Versus Whitty week. Well, mods could add new weeks from that day on, fundamentally changing the game to kinda later with loads of updates to the Kade engine or just way better engines releasing like Mic'd Up and Psych, but that's besides the point. So, what made Whitty special? First of all, the aforementioned Kade engine made by Kade Dev. And while Kade Dev is an arrogant prick, the engine wasn't immediately named after him. In the first few versions of the Whitty mod, it was just called the New Input System, making it hard to understand what exactly we were toggling other than ghost tapping. Yeah, this was so early in the engine's development that it didn't have a menu. You just pressed right on the title screen. And I wish I could show that, but I sadly already deleted that old version I had and I can't be bothered to reinstall yet another version of the stamp mod. You'll see what I mean later. But enough about the engine and its developer, let's focus on the mod itself. Whitty is a character created by the artist sock.clip. The only detail of his lore that really matters to this video is that he is hunted by this guy called Updike and his group, The Greater Good. One of Sock's friends, Nate Animate, convinced her to make an FNF mod for her character. It ended up to be well known for its banger tracks, the high quality art, and the fact that people confused Whitty for an official FNF character. And the shit charting, of course, doesn't even fit with the music at times. Seriously, this got even worse with the remastered Ballistic, but I'll talk about that one later. Like I said, the mod became well known and beloved. This is why many fans created tributes to it, from the usual fan art and fan fiction to remixes, lyrical covers, straight up new FNF mods, and even that really cool animated fight by Chino's Animated. My personal favorite lyrical cover would be Rect's version of Overhead, to be honest.
So, let me take a wild guess. You thought you'd walk up to me, burn me, and out to me, look real macho for your girlfriend, leave me bruised and beaten.
Hold on, you got it twisted, I rap, you resisted, don't care if I win or lose, just wanna walk in your shoes.
Lastly, the songs are just bangers, man. I'm repeating myself, but Low Fight, Overhead, and Ballistic are great tracks. Sock is not just a good artist, but also a great compositionist. Not even the bad engine and charting managed to ruin how much I love this OST. And it's not just me, all the tributes I mentioned were specifically for those songs. In the end, this popularity led to Ballistic, a song legendary for being probably the hardest one to beat at the time, although that throne has certainly been taken by now, getting remixed. Or remastered. On May 24th, a special update for the mod released, including a Ballistic remix. Man, I remember how this track was released before the update and I just keep listening to it on repeat. But, as we saw once the mod released, the charting issues just got worse, especially during the solo bits. Instead of more jacks than a Metal Gear Rising script, we get this complete mess. Jesus Christ, I can't even put it in words, just look at this! you wanna know what makes this worse for me? Remastered Ballistic replaced Ballistic in the main week. The old song is now only available in the free play menu. Better than removing it, I guess. But that's not the only new song added at the time. One day later, we got another update that added Updike with his own song, Remorse. It's a lot more calm compared to Whitty's songs, and surprisingly, its charting works perfectly. But for some reason, Whitty's week doesn't work anymore in this version. If you try to enter it, or any of the songs on free play for that matter, the game crashes. This forces me to have 3 different versions of this damn mod. One for the classic Ballistic week, one for remastered Ballistic in general, and now one for Updike. Thanks guys. If you haven't noticed, I do not like this update. The songs are great, but this whole mess I just explained really harms it for me. But it wasn't the only thing that got harmed, or was it? Like I said before, FNF is meant to be a tribute to Newgrounds, and the users of that site are no strangers to pornography. Combining that with Whitty being popular led to, well, certain pieces of Whitty artwork. Artwork Sock got to see. Since Sock was a minor, and I think she still is, she didn't like seeing her character sexualized like that. Deteriorating mental state, one thing led to another, yada yada yada. Whitty's mod got deleted, and the teased with more update never happened. Great, this is why we can't have nice things. But it didn't just get deleted like that. Keep in mind, Whitty essentially kickstarted the whole modding community. Similar iconic mods like Tricky, Kade or Tabi might have never happened without it, and that goes for newer ones like Doki Doki Takeover, sonic.exe, Indie Cross or Hotline 024 as well. So naturally, when Whitty got deleted, that was important. Even though it's not the only big mod to have been deleted, Sky and Midfight Masters come to mind. So, on the day it got deleted, July 21st, 2021, a new mod called the Date Week came out. For context, the FNF community started shipping Whitty with BB Panzo's Carol. Yeah, remember her from before? That ship got so popular that Sock and BB confirmed it as canon, which is sweet. I mean, Sock deconfirmed it now, but I refuse to acknowledge that. As a matter of fact, we'll talk about Sock herself more at the end of this video. Now, apparently, the team worked on a Date Week ever since the Whitty mod originally released, and that shows in its polish, both in the art and the music. Speaking of the music, we've got Whitroll, Perfume, and Hard Bass. Here's a cool thing about them, they're leitmotifs. Whitroll uses some from the Low Fight, Overhead, and Carol song Carol Roll, while Hard Bass uses some from Overhead and Ballistic. But not just Whitty and Carol were honored, the entire modding community was. During the second and third song, you get so many different characters from different mods appearing in the background. And while I could laugh at the horrible timing of the Agadi controversy leading to fucking fun-sized Whitty appearing alongside Tabi, I won't, but you can feel free to. But personally, I love the whole mural we get for completing the week on art. More art of these characters, plus allowing the actual boyfriend and girlfriend to appear in general, is always a good thing in my eyes. And the few references they snuck in are adorable. Now, while one can criticize this mod for over-glorifying the deletion of Whitty, and trust me, we will get to some criticism later, it's definitely not meant to be. As I said before, it was confirmed to be worked on since the day the original Whitty mod came out, meaning the whole controversy wasn't a factor in its creation. Overall, I liked the Date Week. It was just 3 quick songs that allowed Whitty to have a proper send-off, as he deserves. It also made people realize that mods deserve send-offs, by the way. Sky eventually got a fucking Skyverse mod, although it was also cancelled later, and Midfight Masses got Date Night Masses, a mod directly inspired by the Date Week. Isn't that cute? You'd think it's all over now, but it's not. Unlike Sky and MFM, the original Whitty mod came back, and better than ever. February 1st, 2022, a Tuesday, out of nowhere, a mod called Versus Whitty Definitive Edition came out and the fans were hype. As the name implies, it's an improved version of the original mod. I'd call the switch to Psych engine the biggest improvement, because not only is the health meter no longer bullshit, looking at you Zardy, but we also get some cool camera work, like at the start of Overhead. And I'm speaking the original mod here, no remastered Ballistic or Remorse. Instead, we got 3 new songs with a brand new character, Julian T. Whitmore, who was supposed to be a reimagining of Whitty's story, but he ended up separate from the Bomb Man. His songs are Underground, a sorta remix of Overhead, Low Rise, a sorta remix of Low Fight, and Hungry, a meme song translated to an FNF rap battle. No sorta remix for Ballistic, sadly. There was also Nitty Gritty, a character designed after a redraw someone made of Julian to leak his presence in the mod. Kinda cool to have a character created like that. You even have to solve a riddle and then put the solution into the chart editor to play the song. That song is called Faucet and I couldn't tell you why. I'd also like to comment on one really small change that bugs me. Whitty's dialogue is rewritten a little, so little that I wonder why they bothered. The changes only matter in Ballistic's dialogue, and I mean that negatively. Midway through Whitty's rant, his text is suddenly no longer capitalized and he drops the line, "You screwed yourself now, asshole," without screaming, which would be cool if he was calmly pissed off, not straight up breaking down, because people would be exploding, haha, from their emotions in such a moment, unless they're Batman, I guess. It reminds me a bit of how the dialogue rewrite of the Tabi mod completely ruins the story by being overly verbose and adding a ton of unnecessary narration. Of course, this here is not as egregious, but still weird as fuck. Now, that's it for the February 1st update, but we got another one exactly 2 weeks later on February 15th. It was called the SiIva update, or at least I call it that. Basically, the team worked with SiIva Gunner, a pretty famous YouTube group that makes some cool song remixes while claiming that they're high quality rips of video game songs to, well, remix Whitty's, Julian's and Nitty's songs. I myself am not that big of a fan of SiIva, but I do occasionally give a track or two a listen simply because they're impressive and they tend to incorporate memes in a really cool way. Most songs only got one remix, all adding HQ to the song's names, but Ballistic also got a beta mix, which is a Space Jam meme, and Underground got an in-game mix, which I can't even properly describe. So yeah, memes galore. Oh yeah, Remastered Ballistic was also added again, but Remorse wasn't. Apparently, Sock wants Updike and Whitty to remain separate, so it won't be added back. Truth be told, I don't follow Sock on social media, so I have no clue what Whitty's official lore is anymore. And I guess that's it. There weren't any more updates since this one, so I guess I'll focus on the mod's impact now. Then, let's talk about its effect on the community and how Sock handled it. Hey, GameReel here to quickly interject into the video. I didn't think that I'd make a segment like this early in my YouTube career, but, well, here we are. So let me just get right to it. Just to add some extra criticism to the Whitty revival in 2022, let me quickly get my notes on my phone here. I just think that the revival had way too many jokes that kind of ruined the original story and its original tone, both in like the more frantic tone that the Whitty songs had and the more downer tone that the Updike week had, or the Updike song. Because, you know, the original story is that there's this guy called Whitty and he's being hunted for being a bomb man, something he didn't choose by the skullcut Updike. And I think that it was a good story and it had a great tone and, like, you know, it wasn't fully told in FNF. I'm pretty sure there could have been more if, like, the Whitmore update happened. But what can we do? Here we are. So, like, let me get right to my examples of what I mean with a ruined tone. We started like Whitty Definitive with Faucet in the very first version. And don't get me wrong, I personally think Faucet was a good idea. I think it was like great to kind of mock the 4chan league. It was great to like kind of mock yourself. Just overall fun. But it had the problem of like starting this trend of self-mockery, which then continued in the SiIva update with just more self-parody. Like every single track, except for the Remastered Ballistic, got a SiIva remix. And I thought that was really fucking great. But it did have the problem of like more than half of the songs in this mod to just be self-parody. And then comes like something I found out while I was editing the video and just googling for some images. There was an update for Updike's week. It was in early April and meant as a late April Fool's joke. And while I personally think that the song remix was fantastic, like it's definitely the best version of Remorse, the sprite work just quickly shifts into this style that reminds me of the Fawcett song, of just self-mockery, of just this overly ridiculous style. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against parodying Remorse, but like making your Remorse remaster just exclusively to parody, that's where I have a problem, specifically because we already have Fawcett to mock the mod itself, to mock everything about it. And I get it, Updike is separate, meaning that technically the jokes in the Whitty Definitive version and the jokes in the Updike mod aren't really meant to connect to each other in any way, simply because the mods aren't connected. But you cannot just separate characters that like used to have the shared canon, that used to be in the same mod. I mean, as much as the Updike version of the Whitty mod worked, and I'm gonna say it again one last time, I have nothing against humor, I have nothing against jokes, and I have nothing against self-parody. I want the tone of this video itself to be mostly seen as jokes with a bit of information, but I don't know, just kind of ruining the original tone of the mod was not necessary. So, yeah, I guess that's it. You know, there's this unspoken rule that once you upload something to the internet, you can't delete it. If you want an example, I'd say the re-uploads of the deleted Sky mod would be a good one. When something is popular, people will have downloaded it, and the Whitty mod just so happens to be an insanely well-known mod. I'm repeating myself by saying this, but people straight up thought he was an official character. He was known by people with next to no knowledge about FNF. The base game FNF, not the modding community. So when Whitty got deleted, the fans made sure he was available. Game Banana had redrawn versions that still featured the same music, while other sites had the original mod. Actually, let's talk about the deletion. I'll be blunt, I can't agree with Sock's decision to get rid of the mod at all. I get it, seeing porn of your own character can be uncomfortable, but here's the thing, you gotta look it up yourself. There's only two ways that you could have stumbled upon it. One, people send it to you the way it happened with the original creator of Sky, or two, you follow NSFW accounts and they made some witty art. As far as I know, the first option didn't happen. And the second one would still be your fault. Why would you connect a character you don't want to be sexualized to a game that's not just insanely hyped, or at least was back then, but is also a Newgrounds tribute? You know, the cock joke website that has no problem featuring porn. It's like making a popular 4chan fart of your character and then having a problem with it becoming a Nazi meme. I'm kidding. Somewhat. But truth be told, I don't get what she was trying to achieve. Whitty was still beloved. It showed in how the Definitive Edition immediately went viral across the community, even after months of being absent. So of course there'd still be NSFW art. Doesn't matter now, does it? It seems she came to her senses and realized it, so we can at least enjoy the mod again. Although, you know what I don't enjoy? How popular Whitty made the Kade engine. For a while, it was the only engine most mods use, and I'm just glad its era is over. It's poorly made, something that especially shows in the health drain mechanic of Triggy's expurgation. Actually, no, let's talk about the health drain mechanic for a second because it pisses me off. It's time-based, and the timer still continues during the pause menu, leading to a few deaths I couldn't avoid because the health drain is not affected by the notes I hit, but it's also straight up broken, because sometimes the final health drain kills me when I have full HP, meaning that I need to have a little less to not die because of the glitch, but still not too little for it to kill me when not glitched. Rant aside, the engine's popularity also made Kade insufferably arrogant, so I'm really glad that Kawaii Sprite came along and put him in his place. Oh, and he's also a slur-using cunt. Damn, I actually finished a second video. Insane. So yeah, please don't expect me to make another video like this because this channel is supposed to be all about games, not the communities, and it's also supposed to be more jokey rather than, you know, this semi-serious video. Still, I wanted to make this video because I do enjoy the FNF modding community, so I'm really glad that Whitty got that ball rolling. Insane mods like Trollgay Files, Doki Doki Takeover, sonic.exe, Hotline 024, Manco, Indie and so many more that I fell in love with might not have ever existed if it wasn't for this tall bomb man. So even if Whitmore couldn't happen and the updates didn't amaze me as much as the very first build, I still can't deny that this mod means a lot to me. So yeah, thank you, sock.clip. Thank you, Nate Anime. Thank you, BB Panzu. And fuck you, Kade. Well, here we are again. Just quickly getting off a few comments off my chest, just so I can explain what the fuck went on with this video. It was horrible to make, like really mentally taxing, and I just couldn't get myself to finish editing it. So halfway through the video, I just dropped it. I still just didn't just want to delete it, simply because this is still like a week's worth of editing went into the first half. And I don't know, I just think it kind of has a certain reason to still exist. So yeah, I still decided to upload it, but I couldn't keep working on it. I also just let me just kind of explain why I think it was just so bad to work on this. On one hand, time stress. I needed to get this video out today, or it wouldn't be for another month, and by then I certainly wouldn't have wanted to keep making it. Also, just during the making of this video, during the week where I made it, mods kept getting cancelled, like Entity, sonic.exe, like some I really got hyped for, and it just dropped my morale. In general, it just made me realize how I also just did not like this community all that much. It's just not fun to work for this community, and I've started to realize why it's just not great for the mod developers. For them it's even worse, because they keep getting death threats, they keep getting harassment, all their work is getting leaked. It's just so yeah, that's why I couldn't get myself to finish this video. It was just not for me. The next video will be a bit more experimental. Experimental will just be a new a topic I didn't think I would cover, and I know it's weird to say that on the third video, but I don't give a shit. I would still say that what I learned from this video, and I think I've learned a few things, I will be able to use in that, and yeah, I think this will be kind of like my best work yet, and I'll keep improving and hopefully be able to finish that one. So yeah, Game Reel out.